Well, all right. Brian Zach back with you here. Today's video is going to be a comparison video of bass drum dampening techniques and devices. I have here in my hands a Sonitus all-in-one kicker, it's called, by Sonitus Acoustics. Sonitus Acoustics. And we're going to test this out today on my bass drum. I have here my Tama Walnut Birch 22 by 16 bass drum. And right now, there is a packing blanket inside the kick drum that is mostly shoved up against the batter side head, but it's also touching the front side head. And we are going to compare what that sounds like to what it sounds like when we take that packing blanket out. We're going to put this Sonitus kicker muffler system inside the bass drum, and we're going to see what the sound difference is like, what the differences are. All right, so stick with me to the end, and we're gonna see, we're gonna experiment here a little bit. This is gonna be a little fun. All right, got some fun comparison video going on. All right, so the just so you know, the Sonitus kicker, these are, as you can see here, it says 22 by 16 bass drum size. So these are actually made specifically for a specific size of bass drum. So if you do get these, if you do order one of these, make sure to specify which size that your bass drum is, because they make all different sizes. All right, so we'll get into sort of the details of it all. But for now, let's try this sound. Let's see what this sounds like right now. The drum sounds like, so you know, we have I have the drum set up with an Aquarian Super Kick 2 on the batter side head and a Aquarian regulator front side with a small, I think it's a 4-inch porthole on the front side of the drum head there. And like I said, there's a packing blanket in now touching mostly the front side, or the batter side of the head, but also touching a bit of the front side head. And to mic the drum, so you know what you're hearing, I'm using a Kelly Shoe mic system, support system inside the drum with a Shure Beta 91A mic inside the drum, supported, with the Kelly Shoe system there. And I also have, in addition, I have a sub kick on the front side of the head, about maybe 2 inches or so off of the front of the head. And we can experiment with what it sounds like with the sub kick on or with the sub kick off. So let's start with the sub kick off. I'm going to mute that. And let's just let's see what this sounds like, all right? All right, let's do a little groove now. All right, so that was with the sub kick off, and with me mostly, actually entirely playing off of the head with the beater. So I'm not digging the beater into the head. And just so you know, I'm using a Creative Percussion bass drum beater. It's a felt beater. It's a rounded beater, but I've been using it so much that the beater side of it, where it touches the head, has sort of flattened out quite substantially. So it almost acts as like one of those square beaters, which I'm digging very much. But just so you know, so that's a felt beater with an Aquarian double super thin patch to protect the bass drum head where at the beater impact point, and then like I said, Aquarian Super 2 super kick 2 on the head, on the batter side head. All right, so here's a groove with me like digging the beater into the head. As opposed to coming off the head. Okay, now here's the sound with the sub kick on. All right, that's the beater off the head. Now with the beater back, like into the head, digging the beater into the head. Here we go. All right, so there we go. So there's the sound of just a packing blanket, large packing blanket stuffed inside the shell, just for dampening techniques. I love that sound. That's a great studio sound. We'll get into some of the pros and cons after we compare what this sounds like with the Sonitus inside the kick drum. So, all right, let's see what the Sonitus sounds like. Well, all right, so here's what the Sonitus looks like when it's out of the package. And it's really cool because it has the contour of the bass drum size that you specify. So like I said, 22 by 16 is the size of my kick. That's the size that this is. And what's great about this is that it rests in the bottom of your bass drum, and it's contoured exactly to the size of your bass drum, both from the contour point of view and the length point of view, so that it's going to touch both heads, the batter head and the front side head. And even cooler than that, it has this ability to take this center top piece out, and now we have a slot here so that you can actually put your Shure Beta 91A right in this slot and it won't move. So if you don't have the Kelly shoe mounting system, which I highly recommend, by the way, I've been using one for 10 years plus now, and I've never had a single issue with the Kelly shoe, but that's not what this video is about. This slot here on the Sonitus bass drum kicker allows for you to put the mic and just lay the mic flat right in there, and it has a little Velcro strip here, so it won't move, and it'll fit right there. And so I'm going to actually leave this slot open because with the Kelly shoe, that the mic will actually slip right inside of there. Let's check it out. Well, all right. So now I've got the Sonitus kicker installed inside of the bass drum, and let's listen to the differences in sound, and I'll talk a little bit about some other things that I've noticed while playing the drum. I've done my best to tune the drum exactly the same. The only head that I changed was the batter head, so the front head just is the same as it was. And well, let's just hear it before I say anything else. All right. So here's the sound of the Sonitus kicker inside the drum, with again the same beater and same heads, and I'm coming off the head, so I'm not digging the beater into the head, and I also have the sub kick turned off for the moment. So here it is. All right, so here's the sound of it with digging the beater into the head. All right, here's the sound with the sub kick turned on coming off the head. And sub kick turned on while digging the beater into the head. And a groove. This is with the beater digging into the head. This is the sound of a groove with the beater coming off of the head, wide open. Let's talk a little bit about the differences. The first thing that I notice is that with the Sonitus kicker inside the bass drum, the drum is just louder. It's just there's more signal being passed through the microphone. So that's the first thing. It's just louder. It's louder in the room. It's louder through the mics. And that's neither good nor bad. You do with that what you will, but it's just the first thing that I noticed. The second thing that I noticed, which was almost immediate, was that now with the Sonitus inside the drum, there is more of a resonant sound, especially coming off of the front resonant head, that there wasn't there before with the packing blanket. The packing blanket, with the packing blanket, the bass drum note was shorter. It was just and now there's a there's a little bit of a there's a tail to the bass drum sound. All right? And it's even more exaggerated with the sub kick turned on. So, again, not necessarily good or bad, just depending on what your sound preferences are and what the sound that you're after. In my mind, it's always easier to dampen a drum head than to make it try and ring longer than it actually does. So that can be a good thing. That's a pro. Another good thing I like about the Sonitus kicker is that it makes the drum lighter to move, to pick it up and to put it in a case and to put it in your car and schlep it around town. So there's that. That's always a good thing, because a packing blanket is heavy, and it makes the drum very heavy. And the other pro, in regards to transporting the drum around, different venues and whatnot, is that the Sonitus, especially with the Kelly Shoe mic mounting system, the Sonitus is going to stay put. No matter, you could turn the drum upside down, you could shake it around, you could do all sorts of things with it. It's in there, it's going to stay put. It's not going to move. So from gig to gig, session to session, every time you move the drum, you won't have to readjust. You won't have to reach your arm in there and move the thing around and make sure that it's, set up exactly right. Whereas with the packing blanket, well, in my case, the packing blanket was big enough that it barely fit in underneath the Kelly shoe, so it was also stuck in there and it didn't move. But potentially, if you don't have a Kelly shoe, or if you have a smaller muting, dampening device, if you will, like a pillow maybe, or just some old T-shirts or whatever you might have, those are going to move around during transport, and after every or before every show or before every session, every time you go to play the drum, that every time that you moved it, you're going to have to readjust the dampening to your desire, because it will have moved around in the drum. And like I said, the Sonitus makes the drum lighter, so that's a huge win in my book, especially when I'm having to move the drums around myself. So I'm actually in the process of swapping out my 2 Tama kits that I use. This walnut birch, the Tama walnut birch, has been my sort of studio drum kit since I got it a few years ago, and my Tama maple from 1996, Star Classic maple, that one has been my live rig for for my entire professional career, basically. So I'm thinking I'm going to retire the Star Classic maple to the studio and swap it out with the walnut birch and start using the walnut birch on live gigs. That is, unless Canopus wants to send me something else to replace either Tama kit. Remains to be seen. Shout out to the guys at Canopus Drums in Japan. All right, if you're watching this. So, yeah. I'll say, just one other sort of comparison before I let you go, and that is I found that with the Sonitus kicker in the bass drum, it's a little harder to play, to make it sound good with the beater, sticking the beater into the head. So, and what I mean by that is because the drum is a little bit less dampened, there's a little bit less mass touching the batter head. What can happen is the beater can actually sort of bounce against the head, like you'll get this sort of double. You might get like these sort of doubles. So you got to be kind of a little bit more careful with the way that you play the drum if you want to use the technique of burying the beater, if you will, where and that's, you can still get a great sound, as you can tell. So I'm burying the beater right there. So it's a great sound, but I have to really make sure that I am putting my foot and the weight of my foot into the kick pedal and making sure the beater does not come off and do a double hit. It's a little bit more work to do that with the Sonitus kicker than it is with the packing blanket. In the packing blanket, it's like you could just lay that sucker right in there, and it's a no-brainer. So there are there's some differences, and it just depends on what you're after and what kind of a feel you like on your bass drum and your pedal and the beater and all that, So it's personal preference. But I do love the Sonitus, and I'm going to leave it in here for the time being and start using this kit around town when I do need to bring a kit, which does happen from time to time. I'll be playing with the Nashville Symphony in 2 weeks with a show, and I'm going to bring my kit there. And so more likely than not, I will be using this Tama Walnut Birch for that kit, for that show. So there you have it. Bonus, I'm actually using, so in case you were wondering, I'm actually using the Canopus Yaiba Birch snare drum. I actually did a spotlight video on that drum a while back, so check that out, like up there somewhere. And I'm actually using it with this Roots EQ dampener that I recently acquired, and I've been looking at those lately, so stay tuned for that. And yeah, just Istanbul Agop traditional light hi-hats, 15 inches. So that's what I was using in today's video, in case you're wondering. Innovative percussion drumsticks. These are the 5BLs. I had these just sort of laying around. I normally use a 5AL lately, but these feel good too. All right, so there you go. There you have it. Hope you got something out of this video, and hope that it was a great comparison video. Maybe check out the Sonitus kicker system. I am not endorsed by them. I don't endorse them. They did not pay me or give me any sort of discounts. I bought these with my own money, and they don't even know I'm making this video. But shout out to the Sonitus people if you're watching, and thanks for making great products. And so check them out. I started editing this video last night after shooting what I thought was all of the content. And upon editing the video, I noticed that the part of the video where I was demonstrating the Sonitus kicker, there was a noise on the kick drum. So when I hit the kick drum, especially when I left it open, when I'm not digging the beater into the head, there was a noise of some kind, and I didn't know what it was, and I still don't know what it was. But what I've done is I've set the drum back up. I actually changed the XLR cable out from the mic, and because I swapped it out with the end that goes into the mic is now a right angle. So I think maybe what was happening was this cable, without all the stuffing in it from the packing blanket, I think the cable was touching the front bass drum head and making some sort of a noise, or like, it wasn't really a rattle. It sounded like I don't know, it almost sounded like my stomach growling. It's hilarious, actually. But I assure you it was not my stomach. And I went back to other parts of the video, and it wasn't in there until I had the Sonitus kicker installed, and there was some sort of a noise that was like a lingering noise after the initial hit of the kick drum, and then there would be this noise. And so now here we are. Like I said, I have swapped out the cable. This is the old cable, and put a right angle XLR cable in there. So we'll see now if it made any difference. Hopefully it did. All right, let's listen to hear if we hear any noises during the kick drum demonstration. I hear a little bit of the pedal. I greased it up yesterday, so it's still kind of taking effect, the lubrication on the pedal. And here's the with the beater digging into the head. And with the beater off of the head. All right, so there you go. Hopefully there's no more noise. I don't hear anything right now. If you guys hear something, let me know in the comments. But this here should end the video finally, and hopefully I can get this edited in and uploaded and off to you guys in a timely fashion. Thanks again. Put it in the books. See you guys on the next video.